Hi, Josie. Okay, we're here and it's 4 o'clock. That's great. I know Rini had a 3:30 meeting she got called into, so she may be a little bit late. And Yvonne sent me a message that she was not going to be able to attend today. So let me just, excuse me, this is a remote meeting of the Southampton Council on Aging. It's Wednesday, August 5th. We are being recorded for other additional viewing afterwards. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, excuse me, imposing strict limitations to the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southampton Council on Aging will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below. No in-person attendance. Do we need to mute somebody? Pardon? I'm hearing a lot of noise in the background. Somebody.
Oh, just a second.
Okay.
Can I mute you, Doric? Okay, he's done.
That was a task. That was pretty easy. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. The COA board meeting will be held via Zoom. Public participating via calling in or using your computer is encouraged to watch on computer or tablet or phone. Okay, so welcome everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. The attendance, we have Josie, Kay, Lori, Nancy, Jim, Joan, myself, Janet, even though it says Town of Southampton, TA, I'm not. And we have Dale Cassell as a guest who's going to speak to us in a little bit about pickleball, something near and dear to my heart.
Hi, Dale.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Dale. So again, if you would like to start with Dale, we can have a motion to move the agenda items up.
Or motion to move the agenda to let Dale go first, so you don't have to sit through our whole meeting.
Yeah,
at least,
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, here comes Rini. Okay, Dale, you're unmuted, right? So you're good to go. So thank you everybody for allowing Dale to go in early so she has the option of listening through our
I was actually report.
It's at your choice then. Hi,
Wait a minute, Maureen's not moving. Is she okay?
Yeah, she's not fully in yet, it looks like, so. Welcome, Dale. I'll turn the table over to you, the program over.
Hi, everybody. I asked Janet if I could just introduce myself at this meeting. I know that you've got a big agenda, so I'm going to be brief, and I can always come back if you find it useful. But I want to introduce myself. I'm the USA Pickleball Association's Hampshire County Ambassador, and our mission is to promote the development and growth of pickleball in Hampshire, in my case, in Hampshire County. So in my role, I get a lot of inquiries about where people can play and where, how can I teach them and can we give clinics and all of those kinds of things. So I was involved with you all in setting up the Southampton tennis courts as pickleball, and Yvonne and I came and did a clinic to get people started. But before that, we had several. I don't know if they were, I'm not sure what your membership entails, but we had several Southampton seniors come to Westhampton where we had an indoor facility set up at our town hall and were taught how to play, and they were incorporated into a little Westhampton group. We only have one, enough space for one court, but people come from all over and play with us. Of course, COVID, I know that everything is different with COVID. We don't play anymore there. I only play with my husband. Everything's different. And I understand your restrictions. I'm not questioning that. What I wanted to share with you is, for those of you who, I know Janet's very involved with pickleball. I don't know how many of the rest of you have been involved, but it's a very inclusive, the culture of pickleball is very inclusive, and it's fun, and it's community-based, and it's really a sport that players own in a different way than other sports. So there's people are proud of being an insider with their towns and their communities. And so when people ask me where to play and what the restrictions are, I tell them what I know. And what I knew was that there were courts in Southampton, and apparently recently somebody came in and showed up and just expected to be able to play. That is very common in the pickleball culture, where people drop in and they're always welcomed, and people are like, come on, let's show you how to play, join our group. That's just typical. If I travel anywhere in the country and I call the local ambassador and say, where can I play? It's kind of universal. I'm sure there are clubs that are closed, but usually there's, unless there's money involved, at public courts, it's usually open and people are welcomed in, or there's a schedule for different levels. So first of all, what I'd like to do is offer to put your hours, your closed COA hours on that community. There's a list of places to play that the USA Pickleball Association maintains, and that will prevent further confusion. So people will be able to look up a place to play. They'll see it on the map. They click on it. It tells when they can play, when it's open, when it's closed, what the restrictions are, and whatever. And it's easily edited. I can always change it and update it. So right now there's particular issues around COVID. I had to change the Westhampton and just say we're closed because of COVID. So it's easily edited and updated. So that's one thing I wanted to offer is to have you do that. But also for me to understand when do you play, where is it posted, how would one know? So that we don't run into somebody just showing up and expecting to be taught, for example, in the middle of your group or partner play, whatever you've set up now.
I know, I'd like to speak just for a moment that we don't have any instructional pickleball at this time. As you know, the restrictions and due to COVID, we are minimizing the groups. Originally, I think there was a group we could have 8 or 10 people. I'm not sure if that's large enough, but we're not getting that many. But I think due to the circumstances, we'd love to be inclusive. And I think Southampton has been inclusive in last year before COVID. So I think at this time, we just can't offer classes. We can't offer any extended things because of the situation.
No, I'm not suggesting that you offer anything. It's just pickleball tends to be like a drop-in sport. Nobody's expecting you to teach anything or do anything. And right now when people ask me about the COVID recommendations, I basically say, don't play doubles unless you know who your partner is or unless it's a household member. And if you're going to play doubles with a group of people, don't switch partners. Play doubles, bring your partner, bring a safe person with you that you know, that you trust, and stay away from each other in between games and don't share balls. I have a whole list of things that I recommend. I completely support that. I just want you to know that I'm here, what I'm available to do, help you in any planning or give you any documentation that you might need for your efforts in building new courts, but also just to make sure I know what your schedule is so I don't send people over to play there on a day that I assume that you have reserved with the Parks Department a time for COA.
Yes. So Dale, I'll be happy to send you that information. As far as adding to your list, I think that's something the board will have to take. It's not on our agenda to make those kind of decisions today, but we can certainly discuss it. And we have had people come in and we have included them and they have been gracious enough to wear a mask. We've had people that are, in their early 40s that want to join, are looking for places to play, and if I could send them so they're not going to be probably satisfied with our group, but if I could send them to you and you could help place them, that would be great. And
That's what I want to do.
yeah, I'm happy to also, I've showed people how the tennis net is set up, because the courts, when we play, the nets go away after we're done. And that's why we're hoping to build pickleball courts in the spring, so that they'll be up all the time, and then they don't have to depend on our equipment being set up and taken down. And I have to say, tennis, we only have 2 courts, as you know. I did get approval to line the second court, but the activity with COVID has been more active in tennis. And so it hasn't been as active. We haven't needed more than the 2 courts for pickleball, so I haven't gone over.
And of course, that wouldn't interfere with people playing tennis, obviously, but it would make it more accessible.
If we had more people coming and would use the nets, that would be fine, but we don't right now. And until I'm motivated, or again, we have to have this discussion amongst the group of the Southampton pickleball players pretty much, because we certainly don't close people out. And people want to know, do we have to wear a mask? And when I say yes, I don't hear much from them anymore, unless you're playing with a household member, because it's been brutal outside.
It's horrible.
And
So
last
do it now. You play, if you go there, you either play with a household member or wear a mask, or does everybody wear a mask?
No, household member or wear a mask.
Okay.
We're not even letting people come in from the outside to bring a friend that they're comfortable with, because, we're back to back on some of those on the 2 courts, if you're not that far apart. So
That's absolutely right.
okay.
And
But
from
yeah,
I was one of the 3 people that painted the courts last year in the brutal summer heat. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I haven't been motivated to paint the other 2 yet, Joan. Have you? With this weather, if we had volumes of people showing up, and everybody that plays registers as a member of the Council on Aging, they don't have to be from Southampton, because not every member of the Council on Aging is from Southampton, just like members from Southampton join Northampton Council on Aging or Easthampton.
So when you send me the information, send me also how one would register for your group.
Okay. For our group.
And I'll send you the information, a link to show you what the map looks like and what the different places to play looks like, so you can decide if you want to be, anybody can put themselves on it, or I can add anything, but the information is important for people to know not to come to a group without understanding the restrictions of your.
Right. Yeah.
It's only 4 hours a week that it's restricted to members.
Yeah. So it's only, so you play 2 days, but Janet will send me all that, and I'll have all that.
Yeah, we'll send you the information, and we'll stay in touch. It's good to hear from you. So.
And I volunteer to help you paint. So as soon as the weather cools off, I didn't go to Maine this summer because of COVID, and I have no intention of leaving my little safe bubble in Westhampton. So
Okay.
Count on me for anything. And I really just wanted to extend that again to the group and say, I'm here, Yvonne's here, we're here to support you in any way that you need, and just reach out.
And there are some teachers that play another time from Norris, because Jim Hallett, who is the phys ed teacher there, has engaged some people from Norris School. So they come on a separate morning to play pickleball. So it's, it's just, once we get the warrant or the article approved hopefully at the next town meeting, then we can move forward with building and have 4 courts set up. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for including me. I'll listen in a little bit, and then my dogs will probably start barking and I'll be off, but I'll mute myself.
Okay. Okay,
If you
great.
have any questions for me, just email me or invite me back.
Okay, great. Would be happy to do that. All right, thank you. All right, now for the fun part of the meeting. Nancy gets to debut as the treasurer. So
Yay, Nancy.
Hey, Nancy, yeah. Go figure.
Look at the smile on Josie's face.
Okay, so here's the end of last year that was sent out, I think, the middle of July, I guess, right? Nancy, Joan? somewhere around there for
Well,
our
It
end
was
of,
corrected this week, so.
yeah. Do you want to speak through it, Nancy? Or does anyone have any questions? Basically, we stayed within budget. Unfortunately, Frida was, for obvious reasons, wasn't utilized to its fullest extent as it normally is. Where's Nancy?
I'm here. I don't have a whole lot to say, honestly. I'm so new to this. Thank you, Josie, for showing me how to do this. And I just plugged the numbers in and you know, Joan, you were gonna mention some things and help me out, right?
Well, I mean, I can discuss Frida. I don't know if it's on the agenda as Frida or if we want to.
Well, if it's financially related, you can talk about it here, if you want to do that.
Right. So in years past, we barely made it, or we had to, you know, had help from the Friends group to get through Frida, but obviously, actually since February, when our driver was incapacitated and we started a new driver, then in March, we all know what happened. So we're down about a third of what we were doing last July. So last July, we had 97 trips, and this July, we had 32 or 36. So it's, and these are one-way trips, so that would be, you know, 15, 17 trips. So it's really incredibly different, but we're under budget. The only thing that it affected, though, we did get our FY21 contract, and they did carve out $2,000 from our account. So instead of having $30,000 going forward for next year, we'll have $28,000.
And do you know if it was equitable across the board for other communities, Joan, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I didn't check with each COA that has a Frida contract, but his explanation was very good. In fact, if other board members want the explanation, I can send the email. Is there anybody that would like to see?
I would,
Josie?
I would.
yeah.
And
All
Nancy?
right. Josie and Nancy?
Why don't you just send it to the board?
I'll send it to the board.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah, so Frida, we did ask, you know, how they came up with the number, and so I will send that out tomorrow.
And we ended up, just for an FYI, paying Darlene more out of the state formula grant because we had to fund short-term disability out of the town wages for an individual. So, you know, we ended up at 97% of the town wages, but probably spent more of the state formula grant on wages than we typically would have. But fortunately, we had that ability to do that, because I don't know otherwise what we would have done. So the van would have shut down totally. Any questions or any motions on the FY20?
I just want to say, I think Nancy is going to be great. I think she's already doing a good job. And if anybody can improve upon this, what I've put together initially, I think Nancy can. So I think she's going to be great.
I
Okay.
second that.
Josie, you did a super job. Thank you for setting the,
So there's nothing to really vote on for the end of year. That it is what it is. So, but we will move into FY21, just so what we have so far. Let me see if I can find that document somewhere here. Give me a minute. I know Nancy sent it out, so I don't know if there's questions, or let me see if I can. Everybody bear with me here.
I can tell you that, you know, it's only 3 dates, and it's all very straightforward, not like the end of 2020. And yeah, it's very straightforward. Kept Josie's little triangles in the corner of each box. If you want to hover over that and click on that triangle, you can see what the costs are, where we got those numbers.
So you have to fill all that in, Nancy, and Josie did that before?
Yep,
It's a lot of work.
it is. It is. But, I mean, that's the only way I could think of being able to really follow along. And if you have to go back a few months, if you don't have the comments in there, it's impossible to really,
Put in there, yeah.
recreate it.
Who's controlling that, Janet?
Yes.
Okay, could you hover over town wages on 7.5 because Nancy found a mistake. See, she put it error. So it's going to be corrected, and we did get Robin did put in my formulas back in. So
Okay. All right, good.
So it will be corrected in Darlene's next pay. She
Right.
just won't get paid. Got
all right.
Okay, and just from an expense perspective, we did temporarily put the van position in as full-time because people were working more than 20 hours a week for a couple of years, even though the intention was to have 2 drivers that were not benefited. And with Ken coming on board, we are able to accomplish that. So we did a personal change form and now have 2 part-time drivers instead of like a full-time and a backup, because it was never intended to be a full-time benefited position because we don't have the money and the funds to really do that through the FRITA grant. So good recruiting of a second driver, and we'll probably look for a backup to the 2 drivers coming up in the near future. So we have a really backup person for the 2 drivers.
Is this a good segue for Richard's position, or do you want to?
Can I ask one more question about the balance sheet before we go on? Just a question actually of Josie. I'm sorry for this for everyone, but can you hover over that 917 on the van revenue?
917.
No, the one in the van revenue.
The only black one. There you go. Down.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Did I do that correctly, Josie? Why May and June? Should that have been in 2020? I'm not sure what I should have.
Well, that is the date is 2020, July 16th, but that's part of the
21.
FY 21. So I was going to bring this up, so I'm glad you did, because Nancy had asked me about this yesterday or the other day about the van revenue account. And in last year, there wasn't a whole lot in there. And I know at one point, basically I put in whatever Joan gives me, and then Nancy will do the same. But I think at one point I met with Vicki about the van revenue and how that plays into the budget. And to be very honest, I never understood it. Or if I did, it went, and I couldn't explain it now. And Joan, I don't know if you have a better sense of what happens to that revenue.
So I had this exact conversation with Vicki today. We had our planning meeting Monday, and I was asked, to see Vicki and have an explanation. So she said this exact thing would happen, that some of the reimbursement checks would be late. Of course, the COVID did delay some of this because they were working remotely from their offices at FRITA, so that's why they got delayed. But she said we should have 12 months worth, but they may not be the same months. What I'm saying is this is May and June coming in July, which is a new fiscal year. But they have to use it for that because of the date that it was deposited.
Okay.
But is that the revenue that's the revenue that FRITA is sending to us?
Correct. So
Okay, so what happens to the pay or the fares, the revenue that
The
gets.
fares get deposited into that account, and then they subtract the fares, and I believe we get a stipend from Big Y, and they subtract the ratio from that, whatever the 12-month of the people that we've served, they figure how much we should be getting plus the wages, and they take whatever we get for reimbursement off of what they give us. Does that make sense? It doesn't sound good.
All right, so we keep that money, but do we collect that money? I thought that was going to Frida.
It goes into the Frida account. It doesn't go back to Frida. It goes into a Frida account. And then the reimbursement checks, they send us monthly. And it depends on how much service we've given, the reports that I give them monthly, how many people we've helped.
So they actually subtract that from our budget.
The grant, correct.
So it's not like we ever make any money on.
No, it's like a loan that they pay back in different installments.
Anyway, I'm not going to burn my brain cells on that one at the moment.
Josie, I thought you were out of this. No.
I am. Bye-bye.
Good questions, though. It's a very complicated grant to kind of follow. And that's, I think most boards don't have to go through this kind of detail with budgets, but between the state formula grant, the Frida grant, revenues in, I think it's really, makes us a kind of a unique board in that we have this financial need to track because it's just part of our complicated layout, and this is how we survive is through grants. So,
I don't know how much detail you'd want in the minutes, but is it essentially that Freda fronts us the money, and as we collect payments we reimburse Freda for the money that they've advanced us?
Just the opposite. They don't advance us any money. It's a reimbursable grant, so depending on our
they reimburse us. Yeah,
they reimburse us. We don't give them money back. They don't give us $30,000.
In other words, if we don't collect enough, they will bring us up to where we should be.
If we need to pay wages, if we need they pay any repairs, they pay our gasoline. So all that is involved with the grant.
All right, I'll make very brief notice of that in the minutes.
This is more of an internal discussion.
Yeah,
It's on the video. I would say go to the recording if you want details.
I would like to follow up with you, Joan, on that, and maybe Janet and Josie, if you wanted to jump in, just to kind of wrap my head around it as I start.
Okay, and probably get maybe Vicky on a Zoom call with us.
That would be great.
That would be helpful. Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Nancy. Did we have a motion?
No, we haven't had a motion.
I move to accept the treasurer's report as written.
I'll second.
Second from Lori. And any other discussion, or are we good? Are we good? We're good?
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Did we lose Dale? No, she's still here.
Janet, we need to go approval of the minutes, June minutes.
Did I leave that off the agenda?
No, it's on
We
the
skipped
agenda.
over it.
I skipped over. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
Now, poor Jim feels neglected.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I really do.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Do we
And
have
I'll
a
second
second?
them.
Okay.
Greenie had a question about the minutes when they came out in June. There was something that we said in there that you did not agree with, Greenie.
Do you remember 2 months ago, Rini?
It had something to do with Maureen Groden suggested that COA's efforts to be coordinated with the town working through ED, noting that funds are also available through the Department of Public Health.
Yes, so that's, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm at work and we have to wear a mask. It's our policy. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that the DPH funding was actually came in through DPH and it was directly available to the Board of Health only. It's the CARES Act funding that there's opportunities, and we just we got the 223,000, and there were funds that were all are going to the Council on Aging or the Senior Center. So that, I don't know if that's part of the agenda, but I believe computer and plexiglass and all that. But the actual reference that you made to the DPH was actually Board of Health. It was $9,000. It's not available to the Senior Center.
Okay, so how should I correct the minutes?
And would it be appropriate to say funds through the CARES Act through the town?
Okay.
Rather than the Department of Public Health?
Okay.
Yep, that would do it. Thanks.
Then I'll make a new motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll
And-
second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Sorry to skip over you. And I don't know how many of you lost Jim's minutes from June, but when you have 2 months in between, it's like, I know they're here somewhere. I better send them out again. If anybody has the email count that I have, you
I
need
would
to.
think they would put these in their safety deposit box.
Okay. Director's report. I think I can bring that up if you don't have it with you. Let me just see, COAA. Well, I think I have just you want to do Darlene's first, Joan?
Sure. So as you probably know, both Darlene and Flo got doctor's notes so that they could work remotely from home. I don't know for how long, but they are doing outreach. They are calling many people. Darlene's very active in the remote learning and Zoom classes, helping to get out emails to our folks and get them launched on Zoom. I think her line dance group has, 8 to 10 people at a time. Or 7 and 9 she put. But I'm very proud of them. I think, they each only one works 5 hours a week, and I've reduced Darlene's hours as of July 1st to 7 hours a week because of not being in the office, not having the folks coming in. But she's doing attendance for the 3 or 4 classes that we have. And she did a lot of phone calling for FRTA and renewal of applications for people who have their application has expired. So, then she sent them to me. So we've got about 10 applications out, 2 or 3, I think 4 new people. So things are happening, again, much slower than if the center doors were open. But
they've been doing a nice job of reaching out to people within the community. So that's great. And
she's really excited about her diamond painting. I don't know if you saw the picture in the newsletter of Dot Putnam with her kitty cat diamond painting. It's all beads. It's every single bead has to be glued. And it's actually, Lori is a recipient, I think, of a dragonfly.
Yes.
So she is going to teach that class. We think about August 19th. She only has 5 paintings or kits, but she's working right now with her line dance group, and she's going to deliver those kits, and then she's going to Zoom the instruction of how to do these diamond paintings. So she's a crafty person. She did our card making classes and a few other classes, so she's excited about that.
Yes.
Actually, is it painting or is it more
It's like dot
using
to dot. It's gluing. It's
gluing?
it's tweezers and gluing. As far as I know, I haven't taken the class, so
Well,
It's
That
little,
sounds interesting.
little tiny diamonds. I don't think there's any painting involved. I think it's like just placing the
beads.
material in a certain position.
That's great. That's good.
Would you like to join? I think she's got an extra kit, Josie. Would you like to try it?
well, it depends. I'm not sure about my timing. When is it going to be, or is it not determined yet?
Well, we were looking at August 19th, which is a Wednesday. It could be, 11 o'clock. It could be 1 o'clock. We've been kind of keeping that 12:30 to 2:30 open for some gaming, hopefully bingo at home, if we can figure it out. So we're trying to keep Wednesday. I'd like to see something every single day, and we're almost there. Wednesday's the tough one right now.
Well, Wednesday is I'm busy in the morning.
So afternoon might work. It's
Yeah.
a one-time class. It's not a consecutive like the Spanish class or anything. It's just once.
Oh, well, yeah, that might be fun. Sounds like it'd be fun.
I'll have Darlene reach out to you by email.
Right, and it's
yeah,
Darlene,
maybe.
whose hours were cut back to 7 hours a week.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just.
I'm having trouble hearing for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment. I mean, right now, Darlene is paid 7 hours from the town. We don't know what the state formula grant's going to come in with at this point. And once we start opening, she'll be back to her normal hours. So,
Right.
but right now, we don't have a state formula grant that we're aware of it. And hopefully we hear something from EOEA about how much we're planning on giving us for this fiscal year. So.
We may not hear till September. Our reports have to be in for the end of fiscal year for August 15th. So in the next week or two, well, it must be next week. What is in 10 days, I have to get a report together. And Darlene is helping me with that as well.
Okay. All right. We have a quick one for Flo. Okay, just kind of a same thing. She's been doing outreach as well, wellness course, she calls them. And again, appreciate the time she continues to put in. I mean, they didn't really need doctor's notes, it turns out, because there's only so many people per square foot that's allowed in the center, and our office space didn't allocate any more than one person in there. So, but anyway, it was good for them to get the doctor's note just to be.
Well, there was a little pushback to work in the main hall.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of pushback for them to come in and work in the main hall.
Okay. All right.
Can you just tell me that note? What does that mean?
Doctor's note?
No, right here on Flo's report. Everyone was well. I
Oh,
spoke to two people.
she spoke to where is that,
What's
Nancy?
your question, Nancy?
Right there, right there.
Right
Stop,
under where
stop.
you are, under the 13, the note.
Everyone was well. I spoke to two people were deceased. She didn't speak to those two people.
I was going to
Okay.
ask.
Maybe she found out from their spouses or whoever their living person.
Okay.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? But unfortunately, we did find that we need to update our records, because originally they were put in December of 2017 and really haven't been updated. So little by little. But on an aside, I had tried to get some phone numbers and some things from Lucy and from Ed, and really the recommendation was that it was confidential, that if people wanted to reach out to us, that they would call us, and then we can get their phone numbers.
Okay, and here's Jones. You want to go over your director's report?
Can I just ask a question about what you just said?
Yes.
How did they get their phone numbers?
I don't know. I know that they use it for the emergency, or the
Call,
citywide announcements.
the red alert stuff.
Maybe they got it from voting registration. I don't know. But
Okay.
they didn't feel confident sharing it with our department. So I don't know if there's a confidentiality thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and I apologize again, but I'm having trouble listening. What was the thing about the phone numbers were not?
So we were trying to add, we had 900 names of people that were over 70. Of those 900 names, probably 300, we had no phone numbers. So we were trying to develop a system or trying to get phone numbers from other departments, and they felt that it wasn't, was a confidentiality thing.
Yeah, I think that they're saying they need to opt in for us to use their numbers. So, I mean, we can dig into that a little more.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I worked with that when I was in the government. We couldn't go to like IRS and ask for a new address or anything. If we didn't have it in our file, we couldn't go to another agency to get it.
I think we've talked about this before, and I agree with the thought that, that's what outreach is.
Right.
Reaching out to people. So if they can opt out, once you reach out, I'm not sure why the town wouldn't allow the senior center to reach out to seniors.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And I was saying their perception is they need to opt in, not to opt out. So I think we.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, we need to dig.
I had talked about a mass mailing, and they felt, that wasn't, the town clerk felt that wasn't a necessity at this time, but I'm not sure. Maybe the next time we do a mass mailing, we could have some kind of do you want the center to stay in touch with you? Do you want to, call us and give us your information? I don't know. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, and I really don't know about the town, but if people reveal personal information to one agency, it's very often for a specific purpose, and that agency has to respect privacy. For example, somebody gave me their social security number, and I got a call from VA, for example, and say, hey, do you have so-and-so social security number? I couldn't release it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of apps, I think, whitepages.com, and I would think most of these people have, a lot of them have landlines, so we can pursue that. But I don't know, first of all, just a comment why Lucy has any decision-making power as to whether or not we do a mailing. I'm not clear, Joan, for what your comment was about that. It's not Lucy's decision whether we do a mailing or not. So I'm not clear what that was meant by that, but we don't have to go into details. We can talk about that. But I think we need to push back a little bit more and figure out how do we try to reach out to these people.
And maybe I'll narrow it down to 80 and above or something, I don't know. Or we were trying to, like I said, we had the Fritta list, people that have already given us their number so we could call so that we.
I also think that we should consider applying for additional CARES Act funding for community outreach, and we certainly could do a postcard mailing. The street listing is a public record that has dates of birth on it, so I think people could receive a postcard that says, we're very much interested in connecting you as part of our community. Would you like to contact us and provide contact information or something? The decision to send a mailing out is actually up to us.
We have funding right now through Highland Valley too. We have $3,500 that we need to spend by September 30th. So if we decide as a group that a postcard mailing might be something that we should do, we can talk about that.
Yep.
Okay.
And personally, I think that you might get better response if you give them two options. They can either call us with their information or return a postcard with the information. Maybe not a postcard, but something, a letter or something that we send them and just fill out. So, because if people have to make a phone call, especially with the spotty coverage that we have, I think you may not get a lot.
So maybe, Joan, maybe we'll talk about who on the board wants to kind of work with you on the project.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything that really you want to, I know everybody saw your report already, so is there anything that you pop out that you want to point out of the report that's,
So I have been networking with some of the other Council on Agings about, the reopening and what things need to be in place. But obviously, that is not our decision. That has to do with the governor or the public health department. Until the town hall opens, we won't open. In fact, I had a call from Foot Care this week saying, when are you going to open? Because folks are used to having their foot care done every 2 months, and here we are going to month 5. Some are getting care at home. They're opting into that, which I think they reduced the price, but it's still an additional $10 to have foot care at home. So, I'm anxious. But I'm not anxious for people to get sick. So I'm waiting this out, just as we all are. And doing the best we can. We've,
from the classes, I'd just like to comment, I know you talked about the line dancing, but the Tai Chi has been very, very successful outdoors at Conant Park, in the shade. Even on the most humid mornings, there's always seems to be a little breeze and either a dragonfly or a cardinal that always joins us. And it's just been really a, extremely well received. And we probably had up to 12 people participate. So probably twice the size of the class when it was indoors. So right now we're not charging. I keep saying that it's free for the summer, but we'll probably start charging come fall. So we'll have to make that decision when to flip that switch. But we have money right now, we're assuming, from the Safe Formula Grant to support that. So
yeah, that was I'm glad you brought that up, because we had talked about the parking lot at the town hall and near the center, or there's like 2 or 3 trees that we might find a little bit of shade, but Conant is just beautiful. And in fact, the Friends are having their meeting there, I believe on the 12th. So, I think we can use, and I think Rini had said that at other time, we should use other venues in town whenever we can. So I think that worked out really well.
So when is the Tai Chi?
Monday mornings at 9:00.
It's really very, very nice. It's very nice.
And our walking group is still going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I think they start at 8:30.
Well, you know why you don't see me there.
And the pickleball, again, we've had up to probably 2 courts going, but it's tough. I mean, a lot of the people are not quite ready to come back, and they're definitely the mask is a little bit of a deterrent because the weather has been so tough. Mm-hmm. So we moved it from, used to be, Sunday at 9:00 and Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. And the 5:30 was just not attracting many people. So we're going to try it tomorrow morning at 9 and see if the morning works better for people, and see if we get anybody showing up tomorrow morning. So I'll be there at 9:00 tomorrow if anybody wants to come play pickleball. So
you don't have to sign up, you can just show up?
You can just show up, yes.
As long as you're a member of the Southampton Council on Aging.
But we always have forms with us, and people have become members before they get through the door. So we do, it's important. Joan does his annual report. We spent a lot of money to do the pickleball. It's important that she has accurate numbers to report to the Council on Aging. So, and it's been good, and we try to accept new people if they show up, and done some instructing as best we can. We just kind of integrate them into the group, and one of us will wear a mask that's played so that they can have some good participation. I know Nancy has been very active as well. So it's, we're looking forward to, the Easthampton courts are gorgeous. I want to pick them up and plop them down in Conant Park. So that's in the near.
Can
near
you use
term.
them?
Pardon me?
Can you use the Easthampton court?
The Hampton courts are right now, the gate has been locked. So they may have just recently painted them and they're just letting it really settle. They planted trees, which gave me an inspiration that we have to find a way, once we bring in more soil and we build these up and we need shade to plant some trees. And I think it'd be well received by the town, a good thing to plant trees rather than try to have some other shade, have natural shade. So I know I may not be alive to see them produce shade, but I think it's a good starting point. So, okay. Anything else on?
Question.
Yes.
Joan, regarding the director's report, sympathy card to the Sheehan's.
Oh, that I was, after Rosemary passed and we decided that we were going to send a sympathy card, I was told that John and Maureen had both lost siblings. And so
They both lost 2 siblings since February.
Oh, dear.
So so thank you for doing that. I'm sure it was appreciated.
But life goes on. We have a lot of durable medical equipment that I have a spray sanitizer, kills 99% of the germs, plus things are coming in new. We had a PT person who was storing brand new equipment in the box. Unfortunately, we only have a small space, so I did contact the sheriff's department. He came and picked up a truckload. But that is, I think, a real vital program, and a lot of people still having knees, hips, and whatever, and need wheelchairs, etc. So it's a very active program.
Good.
I don't know if there is any Friends update. Kay, do you know of?
Yeah, I just, they're going to have their meeting next week, which I'm going to.
Okay.
It's going to be at 10 o'clock at Conant Park on Wednesday, the 12th,
Okay.
August 12th. So I'll be going. They don't have a number restriction this time. They can have more people, so.
As long as they're masked and socially distancing.
Right. We have to bring our masks and our own chairs and, yeah.
Great.
So that's it. Maybe next meeting I'll have something to report.
Okay. Great. That reminded me of something and it left my head right while you were speaking. So.
Oh, I have one more comment. We talked about budget, we talked about different things. So the Massachusetts Council on Aging, they are our representatives in Boston for lots of bills and things. So we have dues that we normally would pay every year. They're between $200 and $300. They base it on, your population, your senior population. They have waived, because of the COVID and the different things, their contribution is that they've waived that dues for this fiscal year, so that everybody had a zero balance. So we have an extra $200 to $300 in our formula grant.
Okay, great. Good. Whatever it is, whatever that money is from the state, right? So good. Well, that's very kind of them. And I know they're doing a lot of online things, and they're, very active in trying to keep people moving in the right direction.
And just for minutes, for the 2020 or the 2021 year?
21, FY 21. That's normally our first subtraction out of our account is the dues.
Good.
All right, so as you all know, we were awarded for the Highland Valley Elder Services CARES funding, $3,500. I know the proposal was for a laptop initially, Zoom. What else, Joan? Off the top of my head, I just went blank.
Yeah, so we had talked about possibly a fogger. I don't have that in front of me either, and I apologize. Today was a rough day. We started with a spilled cup of coffee. So anyway, I think they questioned the price of the laptop, and they thought that maybe we could get more than one laptop, and maybe some tablets. Darlene is looking into hotspots. I don't know much about it, but those folks that don't have Wi-Fi, I don't know if you purchase a hotspot of some type that goes with the tablets and the so that they can participate in Zoom programming. We had I think we had asked for 24, but they gave us the total 3,500. So help me. We need to spend that before the 30th of September. So.
And I also know that we've, Joan and I, and maybe some of you have had a discussion about how do we reorganize the entrance to the center. So when we do open, and we will open someday, you know, rather than hiding everybody in the office, having maybe either a receptionist or an admin be at a front desk to welcome, to register people, to make sure we bought the scanner so that they don't have to touch the screen and everybody's touching the screen, and that they get them registered and they make sure that they're socially distancing, that they have their masks, that they, you know the stream and how to move through the center. And with the exercise equipment, we can't have it side by side. We've got to restrict that to one person at a time. So, I mean, there's a lot of changes that you can't be hidden, tucked away in an office with no visibility to the outside. The kitchen, we talked about not making the kitchen accessible to anybody but employees at this point in time. So there's a lot of changes and adjustments, I think, that will occur when we finally get to reopen. And how do we, rather than just sticking a table and some plexiglass and a scanner, we want it to be a welcoming entrance. I know we also, for the CARES Act, this isn't probably enough to do a lot of additional outreach hiring, but that would be the town's CARES funding. So, but those are just some ideas, and I don't know if what people's thoughts are in addition to, because through the town's CARES Act, my understanding is we're getting a computer, I think some signage, whether it's whatever signage we need, more support from custodial support when we start to open, we may need more work, more disinfecting. So, I mean, there's our 3,500 versus what we get from the town. So we have an opportunity to maybe make sure that we can open safely and reach the people that aren't able, to get out. I know we all know people that have maybe passed away because they felt very isolated during this time, and kind of the will to live has just, maybe they didn't have COVID, but they're a victim of COVID anyway. And, so that outreach person is very critical. So we've got, I'm just throwing that out there for discussion from my perspective, and open to what anybody else might think.
Does that $3,500 have to be spent on the items that we itemized on our request?
So I would say those things should be bought, although now that the town has 2 Zoom accounts, I'm not sure that we need a third one, but we can talk about that.
Well, I think it probably good to have our own account because we have classes going on remotely. I think that we can't, even with 2 accounts.
Right. But I'm wondering, I heard you talking about things that were not included in the request.
We get additional funds. So yes, we could buy other things besides what is on the list.
Using the CARES fund.
Yeah. So our request didn't spend the entire amount. So obviously we can add things, and that's why we're talking about the tablets or how do we reach out to people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Janet, talking about greeting people, maybe we could move a desk out into the reception area near the My Senior machine. That would remind the person that they have to sign in, and also there'd be someone there to greet them and help them along the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my vision, and Joan has kind of set up a table, right? And I haven't been into the center since you locked the door. So,
But it was nice for Nancy to volunteer to do that.
That's funny, Jim.
I'm going to mute Jim now.
I would be happy to look though, because we did a lot of changes in our gym to make it, distance. So
Okay.
I'd be happy
To take an overview. And then at the entrance, I don't want to take a desk out of the office necessarily, but maybe if we have the funds to, purchase something that would be protective of the person that's behind it and
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Because right now we're kind of like the way it's set up and designed, there's nobody outside to really welcome people when they come in, so.
Right. And now we're eliminating them from going into the office. So
Right.
we really need that person out in the main.
Yeah.
And it could be staff, it could be a volunteer, but it could, somebody.
A combination of the two.
Combination of the two, absolutely. And I was already in touch with one of Laurie's favorite people, was the discount office furniture place in West Springfield. And he's looking up reception desks, and actually we talked about a different desk in the office as well. So we're looking at a few items from there. Actually, my biggest challenge is getting cash flow because you have to be able to invoice something, as you know, Lori. When you're purchasing, you have to have some place that will invoice you. I have to check again with Vicki about which vendors, and
I have to have a contract with them to be able to invoice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I think making a decision on what to buy is the easy part. Figuring out how to buy it is a bit of a challenge.
Discount office furniture invoiced for us. We were in a crunch at the end there.
Yeah, they're very good with that. But the computers, if she wanted to get a couple iPads instead of Microsoft, who do you work through? And it all has to come to, I'm sure there's state contracts. I'm sure that either Ed or Vicki have a list of who we can deal with, for that. I know that
the two desk computers are coming next week, so that I got a verification on that.
But anybody else thoughts on I know we can certainly request an outreach person, how many hours a week. Right now with us closed, I think Darlene and Flo are doing a lot of outreach, but I also know that Flo's not going to work for the next 20 years here. So maybe we combined the volunteer, maybe with an outreach person. We've got to figure out, how many hours do we need, so I need Joan to kind of really dig into that and see what you think.
I think Jim and I had initially worked a little bit on job description, but that was a long time ago. So
Right.
We'll have to dig that one up and start thinking about that again. I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
And I think we have to just be proactive to, even before we do positions were approved without a PCF or a PRF, for using the CARES funds from the town. So, we can determine what we need and back into the process. But what do we want to pay them? How many hours a week should they be? And then get that information to Ed and a list of other things we feel we need to safely open. And then, which is very unusual for our minds because it's always not the cart before the horse, but with the CARES fund, and I think we can let them know what we need, what can get approved, and then we go through the process. But we need to let them know first what we need.
So what I'm hearing is, we need from Joan what the need is. Are you asking for anything from the board?
Yeah, we're open for discussion, yes. We're here to advise, so Joan loves when we give her advice.
I do.
I just want to mention that the community outreach is not in any way like a news in other towns, so it should be pretty easy to find out.
What did you say, Rini?
Yeah, Rini, you lost you a little bit, sorry.
Okay, what I was going to say was that I'm still unmuted, right?
We can hear you.
We just missed part of
You're
it.
just breaking up.
Yeah, okay, so what I was saying is that, there's lots of community outreach. So I think that it shouldn't be that hard to actually determine a role and responsibilities of a community outreach person.
Yep.
But I think this has to be determined based on the size of our town, what is reasonable and what kind of activities would we want them to do. And the CARES Act application required very, very little. I mean, if you saw the application from last night's meeting, it was really like dollar amounts. So I know the work has to be done to determine how many hours at what general rate of pay, therefore equals so much of a total amount. But the requirements for the actual details wasn't that much for the CARES Act, but it might be. We asked to have a little bit more input into the CARES Act than we had for phase one. So we have up to $500,000 or thereabouts available to Southampton. 223 of it was funded, and an additional amount was reimbursed by FEMA. So the amount that we have available to us is, between $200,000 and $300,000. So I just think that there might be additional requirements this next time around for details within the town. Because last time, I don't know if it was entirely representative of the various departments. So I think that the select board wants is a little bit more input and representation. And I'd like to see the seniors get more. So, and that seems like a perfect, thing for COVID is community outreach to seniors.
So is there any kind of a hiring freeze? I know they're level funding and all that, or is that all separate because it's a grant?
It's separate because grant, and there's no guarantee beyond this year. And one of the line items of the CARES Act funding was a staff position in the fire department.
In the fire department?
Administrative assistant for the fire department.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the one thing is that, the position is for the year. So hopefully after that, I don't know, maybe we fund it out of the state formula grant. We'll find a way to fund it. Hopefully moving forward, but.
Joan, if you could we could work on, you're saying determining exactly what you want the person to do. We can fashion that into a job description, and estimate what would be a reasonable level of compensation, and then prepare the papers and submit it. Would we have to go through the personnel board?
After the funding comes through.
Yeah, after the funding. Yeah.
Well, let's work on a job description, but whatever you want the person to do, just write it down and we'll fashion the job description.
And you don't have to
The work we already did.
out there, yeah.
We did, but then you just said that wasn't what you wanted, right?
I think
I think there was one job we were looking at, and then we said maybe an outreach would be more appropriate, so we kind of trashed that description, and we were moving to an outreach.
But whatever, it's a matter of just housekeeping then. Yeah,
and then to Joan, as Rini said, there's lots of outreach people throughout the Western Massachusetts to give us a sense of a job description and functions and hours per week and what is it we need, and a pay scale that isn't more than Joan makes, but still attractive. So,
I would think we have a really good head start. God bless COVID, I guess, that we've got a head start. Flo and Darlene have been doing it.
Right. Yep.
So we have an idea of the
Do they have community outreach at Mercy Life?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, because we're our own community. We're an insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Other senior centers clearly, definitely would.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
I think you have to be careful too about, I know what, Nancy, I agree with what you just said, but you don't want to give the impression that we have the staffing available to do this without having.
Yeah.
I know the Shine, when we were reaching out, the last time we were looking for $5,000 to have an outreach where we kind of had targeted our Shine counselor because she had training. I'm still in contact with her, but I mean, that's the type of person we're looking for, but it could be maybe 5 hours a week. It's not going to be an extraordinary amount of time, but 5 hours is 5 hours.
Well, you can use your imagination, and you know, this is an opportunity when things like this happen, whether it's COVID or 9/11 or whatever. The funding's there, and you just have to be creative and try to have a wish list.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to last, which is why so many of the other towns ended up getting public safety complexes, and we didn't.
Back
because
after 9/11, right?
after 9/11. So the COVID money's there, and I think the biggest targeted group is seniors. So I think that there's ways that you can, like, for example, our volunteers are putting together care packages for all the seniors. Hand hygiene, like they're doing like a whole package for, you know, so I just think that there's, you know, I think there's lots of opportunity.
Okay, great. So everybody, get to Joan with your wish list as well. Because, and if we have to have a meeting mid-month to kind of talk about it and finalize it and put it together, all we need is 48 hours to do that, so. Anybody else have any thoughts? Josie?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I'll have to think about it more.
Can you see the note from Dale?
Yes, thanks, everybody. Have you considered purchasing an AED for your pickleball area?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably, Lori might know somebody that handles that stuff, right, Lori?
Right, do children,
Yeah, the school, oh yeah, Lori, yes, of course.
yeah, do you have, one way around it, Janet, you know, and you could talk to Sue about it, but if kids are using the pickleball courts, that may be around getting a donation.
Yeah, I think that will come. I think once we have pickleball nets that are installed and available more than 2 hours a week, or 3 hours a week. Right now, you know, I mean, Jim is teaching all these kids how to play pickleball, and then they leave school and there's no place for them to play pickleball. So he knows about the net, he knows, you know, the tennis net and stuff. But I know in the school, when we played it in Norris over the winter, they had 2 AEDs in the school that we were,
Yeah,
and
one
donated.
of those was our donation,
Yes,
not our donation, the foundation's donation.
foundation, yeah. And
Because the mission statement states it has to be or youth-oriented.
oh, yes, for the Kev's Foundation. So, I mean, that's a good idea. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's something to think about. We really don't have, I mean, we could store it in a storage container. I don't know how big it is, and
But you have to have the key, and
Well,
you
you
have to be open.
Right. But,
Well, they've donated to Stanley Park, and there is a case that it's put in.
yeah,
So
Okay.
again, Sue would be the one to talk to.
yeah, okay. I mean, that's something certainly to think about. Thanks, Dale, for your thought there. And Rini said she's just going to switch to audio because I know she's at work still, so. Okay, so anybody else have any ideas on how we can, you know, I mean, I think Darlene and Flo are doing a wonderful job. That's not what they're trained to do, but they're doing a terrific job for this. I think bringing someone that has that background is different than tossing 2 people that are volunteer coordinators and administrative assistants in and saying, you know, do this. They're doing a terrific job, but it's different, I think, once they're back in their positions. You know, we need somebody to continue with that. So, okay, great discussion. Thank you. We did the proposed budget for the COA. So we're looking at level funded of the wages. This is again to vote on at the town meeting. So level funding on wages and probably about a $420 discount on our town expense line. So, I mean, kind of the process, I don't know if anybody got to watch the select board meetings, go through this process. It was a very lengthy process. I think they did a lot of diligence in coming to the decision. They didn't want to take money away from people, so they looked more on budgets. And I think they did a nice job with that. I'm admitting someone. I'm not sure who this is. but I will admit them. Okay. So the annual town meeting we know is August 15th at 9 o'clock at Labrie Field. They're trying to keep it as close to an hour as possible. The pickleball courts were taken out of the agenda because it just was not a safety or finance issue at the time. So we'll have another town meeting. We'll get that back on and we'll move forward with that. So, anybody else have any comments about the next year's budget? I think that's pretty cut and dry. Everybody seems to be level funded. And again, we're waiting apparently there was some change from the state where a little bit more money was appropriated to the town, not a significant amount. Most of it is for the school. But there is a little bit to come up.
Just update me, I should probably know this, but what's the status in terms of the budget and Joan's hours? Did they get increased and they didn't get increased?
Level funded and no additional hours, correct.
Okay.
And I completely understand that,
Yeah.
time is everything. You tried.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it just wasn't with everything, all the expenses in town.
Not my year.
Not going to happen. So, okay.
Not really anybody's year this year,
It's been a tough year.
That's for sure. Okay, we talked a lot about updates and reopening changes. I think we covered that pretty much early on when we, had other subject matters. Is there anything else anybody want to add to that, Joan? Or we're still kind of on a hold pattern and?
So, yeah, I think the outdoor, as long as we can do outdoor things, we will, maybe into September. I did, really would have loved to do a group walk, intergenerational walk, but if they're not opening schools and they're not promoting getting together, I guess I have to let that dream go too. So our annual walk will be postponed till next year. Or maybe it could be in the spring if things are better in the spring.
Okay. Yeah, we're probably not going to be the year to do an annual walk, huh? Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is to recommend and nominate Highland Valley Elder Services Board or representative from Southampton. We received a letter from them informing us that the current representative, Nilda Colin, her term is expiring at the end of September. So we typically, historically, have put somebody in from either the Council on Aging, connected to the Council on Aging, the board or director. So I wanted to see if there were anybody interested in serving as the representative for Southampton to the Highland Valley Elder Services. And I don't know if anybody has.
I would like to nominate Joan to this because you've done a great job for us, and I think you would be a really good representative and advocate for Southampton. So I would nominate Joan.
And I would second that.
Yeah, I would third it.
Do we have some discussion, Joan? Or everybody, okay, there's been a motion made, it's been seconded. Do we have discussion?
So I would take that wholeheartedly. I think we need a voice and we need a connection, and I think we need, I'm willing to do that. It's once a month on Mondays, first Monday of the month from 2 to 4. So I think it's an extra hour of work. It can be flexible, whatever. Plus, there's probably travel time, so it's maybe 20 minutes each time.
Well, maybe eventually there'll be travel time, Joan.
That's true. That's true. Maybe there won't be travel time right now, but it won't be till October. So, I think it's a real important position, and I think as the director, I would like to be involved with that.
And I know that we've had some discussion with Highland Valley just to, first of all, their letter was very, just to share. I don't know, I thought we sent it out, but they really appreciated the contributions from Nilda. And I think I also would ditto that. I appreciate Nilda's contribution to Highland Valley Elder Services and her representation of the town. We did ask about who could qualify moving forward. Could it be the COA director, or does it have to be a board member, or, and they clarified that you could be what they consider a part-time director, because Joan doesn't work the full 31 or 32 hours. So I wanted to make sure that if we did get to this position, that we knew that Joan would be accepted by Highland Valley as our representative. And I do think that we need to really work on a relationship directly with the senior center and Highland Valley. And I think Joan is in the best position to do that. So
Absolutely.
I would also support Joan as the nomination.
Thank you. I was there this past week. I picked up farmers market coupons, so I have a few weeks to make sure they get out to people.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I know Rini joined us by phone. I'm going to unmute her and just so she can participate.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I think it's great. I think that we haven't heard much from Highland.
We lost you.
We haven't heard much from Rini.
Woman of a few words.
No, did you hear me?
No, it started out, you thought we haven't heard. Go ahead, try it again, because no, we didn't.
Sorry. What I said is we haven't heard very much from Highland Valley, and I think it's such a critical relationship between the Senior Center and Highland Valley that I'm really looking forward to having much better communication. And so thank you, Joan.
Yeah, that would be great. Now, those hours, if it's a problem with our budget, those could come out of the formula grant, couldn't they?
Yeah, we can either take it out of the formula grant. We can have Joan come in an hour later and stay an hour later, or we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not worried about that. The only thing I just, if we were to vote Joan into this and nominate and vote, then we would just need her to clear with Ed, because that, it's much.
I have to leave by just after 1:30, so it's like an hour and a half.
When they start meeting live. So, I mean, we need to make sure he approves the appointment as well. So I can communicate with him after this and ask him if he would support our nomination. And we have a nomination, we have a second. Do I have any other discussion before moving on? Do I have an all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, congratulations, Joan, and I think you'll do it.
Thank you.
All right,
Forward to it.
so what do we have to do, Joan? Send a letter, you'll send a letter to them, letting them know that we voted you to be our representative?
I can do that.
Okay, great.
I don't know if there's a form to fill out or whatever, but I'll find out.
Okay,
And would they accept your signature since you're the person who is being nominated, or does it have to be Janet?
It
Well,
may-
maybe a referral. I think one other time I got the board referred a referral, but I'll find out.
Okay, let us know because I think it goes into effect October 1st, I'm assuming.
And Janet and I communicate quite often, more than once a day.
Some days, not every day.
Bless you both.
Whether she wants to hear from me or not.
A day without Janet is like a day without sunshine.
Did she say that right? Wow. Okay, so I have open time for the public. Next on the agenda, I don't see anybody that has logged in that's not part of the board or our guest, Dale, and our liaison, Rini. So I think we can move
Can
on.
I ask a question as the public?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Lori Loisel, Hillside Meadows. Does our Board of Health have a site where you can go on to find out how many COVID-19 cases we have in town and how many we've lost?
I don't believe so. I will. I know that there are numbers sent out by town every, I think, Wednesday by the Department of Health for this Commonwealth. But Rini, you would probably have a better handle if you're not breaking.
Yeah, so, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the typical way of reporting this is by county, and so a lot of the boards of health have actually, committed to doing that. The problem is DPH set up a website, and it actually does it by town. The problem is it's not very accurate, because if somebody lives in Southampton but they die in a nursing home in Leeds, like Linda Manor or something, it captures the person where they are, not where they're from. So it's confidential in terms of, I knew that there were 3 deaths because of COVID in Southampton, and I only knew one person personally. So, but nobody from the board, like confidential information. They're not allowed to give that information out. So there is a DPH website though that has the amounts. I just don't think it's entirely accurate, because, for example, if I tested positive for COVID, my number would still show up in the list, even though it could have been 2 months ago. So it's not very accurate geographically or historically, and so it's not it's not easy to get an accurate answer at any given point in time.
Because I think we have 32 cases in town, and
How many?
32 was the last number I saw in the WWLP or whatever puts out by the, but I think that doesn't mean there's 32 active cases. That means
It's cumulative.
Yeah, it's
total.
So since March, so it's you don't know what's happening today, really.
And you got that on because I've never found the by town. I see something with the community. I mean, with the county. And
every Wednesday. I
Do you have that, Janet?
Yeah, I just signed up for WWLP, and they their news, and they publish it every Wednesday after it's produced.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it's specifically with town, because I have that too, but I haven't noticed the town.
Yeah, it's by town. They have a
it's by town, but it's not accurate at any given point.
If I get the link today, I'll send it out to the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public want to speak? Thank you, Ms. Loisel.
My pleasure.
I would like to speak. Can I say something?
Am I going to tell you?
Can I say something?
I don't think so.
Yep.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that there are a lot of positions available, and the ballot is the town election is September 1st, so long as tomorrow the hearing that's being held is allowing Southampton to have the election. And so if you could just, pay attention and maybe pass the word that there are a lot of positions available. That's all.
To serve on different boards that are elected versus appointed like us.
Yeah, and all 3 of the Board of Health positions are currently vacant or up for election.
But don't you have to have your papers in already?
Yes.
Yeah, but it has to be write-in at this point.
Yeah, so if you know anybody that wants to be on the Board of Assessors or Department of, or, Board of Health, then, and they want to have a write-in campaign, we will help to spread the word and get the people to write in their names.
So Nancy, is the person that we signed, is she on the ballot?
She should be. She got her papers in time.
Okay.
So she should be.
Right, so the election, we talked about the town meeting on the 15th, and I skipped over the town election is also on there. That's September 1st, the same as primary day. And will there be absentee ballots? There should be absentee ballots for that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would, or we have to schedule our next meeting, but I know I can't make a motion, but I was thinking it, if it's a nice day outside, how nice Conant Park would be.
For the next
Oh,
meeting?
yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it now.
Is there Wi-Fi available?
Pardon?
Wi-Fi?
It's probably not Wi-Fi, so we'd have to do hard copy.
Okay.
Everybody would have to print their own individually and bring a copy with you. I mean, it's just a thought. I'm throwing it out there. You may not agree with me, and I'm open to being, I've been rejected before.
I think it's a great idea.
Handle it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If we can have access to Conant Park, you have to go through the whole rigmarole to get access,
I don't think so.
No, we're using the parking lot, so.
And weather permitting
Use
too.
the parking lot for that matter, yeah, or sit in the shade or something.
I don't know. The Friends are having a meeting next Wednesday. I don't know how they arranged that.
No, I think they're just, like we have Tai Chi.
Yeah.
I mean, let the Parks Commission know that we have Tai Chi on Monday mornings and they approve that, but that's an every Monday morning thing, so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we could just take our chairs and sit under the trees, in the shade. At
Sure.
proper distancing.
I think it would work for me because I'm still working from home and I can flex my
Yeah.
schedule, but I'm not sure about Rini. It looks like you're
Yeah. I mean, I have Yeah, I mean, I'm really good speaker, so I'll see what the date ends up being, and if I could, today I couldn't, I had to be at work, but I mean, I could always leave a little bit earlier depending on the date. I'm assuming it would be the week of Labor, would it be the week of Labor Day or the week before?
It's probably the 3rd.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so it would be
Or
4.
the 2nd, I'm sorry, the 2nd.
Yeah. So either way, I'll, maybe have anyway, I'll check. Hopefully I can make it in person.
Okay, I mean, and if we decide that that's not going to work for people, then we can, I don't have to schedule it yet. You guys kind of check your schedules, and it would just be nice to be out of my basement.
And the weather.
And the weather, yeah, it's kind of conducive to the weather too, but we could always sit in the pavilion if it's raining. Everybody has their own picnic table. But I understand Wi-Fi. If Nancy's at work or Rini's at work, that's something I didn't really think about, so.
On that note, I'm planning to get the newsletter out next week, and I would like to put a calendar back in with just these things. And I don't have to put a place, but I would put the board meetings
Okay.
and a few other things on a calendar so that it takes over the last page of the newsletter.
And before I forget, speaking of the calendar, we sent some pictures to Joan for Mary Balfour, who was our oldest Boston Cane recipient. And I went with Francine and Chris Fowles to present her the plaque. I was the photographer, but I represented the Council on Aging. And so that was very nice. And next Wednesday, we're going to meet with 2 Hendricks, Leona and Ted, and who are also 97 this month.
Oh, wow.
So runners up, it's quite a good runners up position.
Yeah.
So, and Mary's not planning on giving up the cane anytime soon. So
Good for her.
she's quite the amazing woman. I would never have guessed.
She looks wonderful, by the way.
Yeah,
I know.
she is.
I never would have
The
guessed.
pictures are beautiful.
She was a Spitfire. She's a Spitfire for sure. So I said, "What are you having for your birthday?" And she said, "Lobster tail." So I said,
Oh my God.
lobster tail too. So that
I
was
also got a beautiful thank you note from her to the select board, which I'll read at the next select board meeting. It's a really nice note.
oh great, good. Yeah, I know Robert put it in his newsletter like the next day or something. So,
Yeah.
the pictures of her. It was very.
Mary called me and said, I heard that somebody else turned 97 And I'd like to call her, so I didn't share Leona's number. So she
Oh,
called,
good.
the 97-year-old called the 97-year-old.
She said to us, I'd like to know what she does in her free time, you know, so.
They're both beautiful women. I mean, Ted I've met as well. I met all three of them. I can't believe it, but I have, and they're all wonderful.
They are.
So anyway, I just meant to share that earlier as well. So September 2nd, I can set it up at Kona, and then we can always change it 48 hours in advance if there's any issues with weather or availability. Because I know
There might be an issue with recording. Isn't that a requirement?
no, it's only required to record it if you are doing it remotely via like a Zoom technology.
So I was wondering if anybody has a hotspot. I don't really know about these things, but if that was something that Rini could call in on, like Janet, if you had a hotspot for.
Well, Joan's going to buy some hotspots, so.
Maybe by September 2nd, I'll figure out what
September 2nd, we'll add it to the grant, right? The Highland Valley CARES Act grant. So, yeah, I don't know anything about the technology. So if we can do something like that,
Well, the hotspot is the hotspot is a personal. Like I have a personal hotspot. So just now I was actually joining the hotspots. It's an internet connection,
right?
Wherever you are, based on your phone. But I could just call and I'm hoping to be there in person, but if not, I have a great Bluetooth speaker and I'm happy to just call in to someone's phone and, wouldn't involve that much.
Okay. I mean, let's make sure we can get all the board members there, and then if we can't, we'll go inside. If we can, the senior center, if we could spread out, it's just too long and too narrow to maybe yelling at each other, so.
I have to keep someone very soon.
Oh, Shadow. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
Janet, I just have one quick question for Joan. I got the postcard regarding the Fritta feedback. Did everybody who uses Fritta get this?
I think I got it, and I don't even use Fritta, so.
Okay.
I don't know how they did the mailing. It wasn't me.
I think I got it, and I thought I assumed, I didn't respond to it, but I assumed it was because at one point I had signed up in case I ever needed it around the time that I broke my wrist and I couldn't drive. But that was, I don't know if that's where the list came from.
Well, I'll do the feedback.
Okay. Anything else before Shadow gets fed?
She's really working me here.
I'm surprised the dogs aren't knocking at the door here above me, so. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Did somebody make a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Josie?
Second.
Okay, Lori, second. Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Be well.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
You as well.
Thank you. Everyone keep safe.
Oh, by the way, Jim, I don't know if you know, but at least on my screen, you are in the middle of all the women.
It's little here.
And Dale said, thanks you for having me. And I don't know if I mentioned, but Yvonne did send me a message that she was not going to be able to attend today. So.
Right. You mentioned that.
Okay, thank you.
It's really good to see everybody.
Yeah, it is
Glad
good
you're
to see
doing
you
well,
all.
Lori.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.